traditional communications like we're having right now. You look at someone, you speak to them, and there's all kinds of thoughts and chaos. Whereas online, I think you can really throttle that back. You can say, here's the thing, focus on this, participate this way, and then use that to kind of, more broadly than ever possible, combine to create something much larger. Oftentimes, I'll start with something that piques my curiosity, some new technology or new application of an older technology, and think about how that, kind of what questions does that raise in my mind, and how could I use that to make something new. I'm just going to say a couple quick words. So yeah, I'm Aaron Koblin. I lead up a very small team at Google called the Data Arts team. This is the first kind of official Data Arts team public presence so we're giving it a shot. We want to keep it really informal. I was super excited to have this workship opportunity. I started off in undergrads UC Santa Cruz, and I was going for computer science. I was sure that's what I wanted to do for about 1 quarter until I realized that it was just kind of recreating the wheel. I wanted to branch out and do more explorative software. And I realized I could do that in fine arts, so I took a bunch of art classes and began to steer that entirely towards software development and making software for art. I kind of studied under a guy named Casey Reese, who along with Ben Fry created the processing programming language, which is what I use for a lot of the projects I work on.
Aaron's, yeah, he's our boss. And he's really good at kind of observing the high level technologically and logistically how things are going to work.
So a lot of the more recent projects I've been working on have been collaborations with Chris Milk. It's largely been about investigating the kind of new technologies and opportunities and then figuring out what types of stories can be driven and woven into these technologies. So if we want to make a music video directly for the web browser, what could we build with that? How could we make something tailored for individual people? Can we kind of show them that you could really get a really interesting experience with that data and creating a story around it?
How can you turn something that's so just cold and rigid as basically, the Wilderness Downtown is a set of instructions, and actually go from that, just like computer code, to something that can make someone choke up? It's that's his little sprinkle of magic. That's what he brings to this planet.
I think enabling creativity is a big part of a bunch of the projects that I've worked on. Starting back with the sheet market. Towards the end of 2005, Amazon released a web service called Mechanical Turk. It basically lets you tap into human brains and ask them to do stuff. And you can pay them like eBay. So you can say, I'm going to, in this case, give you 2 cents and ask you to draw a sheep through this website that I made. Later, what it turns out is that I'm collecting and harvesting all of their sheep. And it was really exciting to see people create these random drawings. And I would just make a simple request, and then all of a sudden this creativity was spreading back at me. And that was a big inspiration for trying to get the Johnny Cash project to enable people to feel like they were part of something, and for a good enough reason that they would really engage and put a piece of themselves into it. But as you can see here with the Johnny Cash project, you get all the different frames that people have contributed so far, and they're constantly rebuilding this video. And as people submit more and more frames, they're also voting on the frames, and they're bubbling up to the top. The video literally gets better and better over time. There's something about watching the way that people go through the creation process to really put you inside of their head. It's kind of an experience that everybody has, but usually it's just with themselves. We used, obviously, the word dream quite a bit, and it was a lot about thinking about kind of how do you create a more lucid experience where you're in control, but it's also kind of letting your mind relax and wander. And I think that's really valuable in the creative process, to go straight down an analytical thought process, but then break it apart and daydream and think about strange combinations and things that you could kind of drift off into. I think it leads to really exciting discoveries. So we continue to live our lives more and more with, various social streams, and all the data that we're pulling in is really relevant to our lives. So it hasn't really been a struggle to make work that I think is using technology, but very much about human condition and human life.